Hey everyone, Jason Cotta here, fishing manager for the Orvis shop over in Bellevue. Today I wanted to show you guys how to tie a simple flash fly. This is a great pattern when you're chasing coho, whether you're fishing for them off the beach or in particular I like this one when you're targeting them in the rivers. So the materials you're going to need, first off you're going to need some hooks. This is just a salmon steelhead hook, the 1645s in a size 2. You're going to need some tying thread, preferably something heavier, either 3/0 or our saltwater bass size of thread. Is a little bit thicker and lays a little flatter. That would be my preference. You need some Flashabou, and you can tie this pattern in a variety of colors: purple, silver, pink, chartreuse. So you just have Flashabou to match that. Diamond braid. And you're going to want the diamond braid in the same color as your Flashabou. And then you also will need some bucktail. You can use red. That's kind of a good general all-round color you can use, or you can match it up to the color Flashabou that you're using. And last but not least, you're going to need some saddle hackle. And when you're picking out hackle to tie the flash fly, you want hackle that's really nice and webby. So the strung, the Chinese saddle hackle, the extra long saddle hackle seems to work the best for this. You can also use schlappen if you have that. That works as well. So those are the basic materials you need, but let's get started on it. Alrighty, so what we're going to do is just go ahead, reposition this a little bit, and start our tying thread right at the front of the hook and work our way all the way back, giving ourselves a nice little thread base there and ending just before the curve of that hook. Now what I'm going to do is tie in the tail, and we're just going to use some Flashabou for that. I'm going to pick out a decent size chunk of that. Set that right on top of the hook shank. Make a few wraps, and all those fibers that are going forward, go ahead, pull them back, and tie that in nice and tight, just like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim that tail so it's about the length of the hook shank. Now what I want to do is tie in some diamond braid and get a length of that. And this is going to be my body. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and tie that in. And then advance my tying thread up about 3/4 of the way up the hook shank. And all I need to do is take that diamond braid and wrap that forward, creating my body. Now as I get up to where my tying thread is, before I tie this diamond braid off, what I want to do is make a few extra wraps there and make a nice little bump. And you'll see in a second why we want that bump of diamond braid there. Get that all tied off, trim your excess. Now we're going to tie in an underwing of bucktail. I'm going to use red just because it's what I had. You can match it up to the color of the fly you're using, or the color of the Flashabou that you're using, but I like red as an underwing. It just kind of simulates blood in a bait fish. Makes it look a little bit more wounded. So I'm going to cut out a chunk of bucktail, and what I'm going to do is grab that bucktail by the tips and strip out all those shorter fibers. We don't want those in our underwing. Once I have all those shorter fibers stripped out of that bundle, I'm going to lay this bucktail right on top of the hook shank, so the tips are right about to the end of that tail. And I'm going to go ahead and tie that in right on top of the hook shank, being careful not to allow that bucktail to wrap around the hook on either side. Once you got that tied in, go ahead and trim those butts. Make sure that's tied in nice and tight. Now the reason we added that bump of diamond braid in there is because what that does is that keeps that wing propped up at that nice 45-degree angle there. And what that's going to do is help support the overwing of Flashabou and keep it from laying down flat on top of the hook shank, which you'll see here shortly. So now we want to tie in our overwing. Once again, going to use some Flashabou, and I'm going to take a pretty healthy bundle of Flashabou here. I want this fly to have a lot of movement, and it's a flash fly, so I want it to have a lot of flash. So I've got that bundle right in front of that underwing of bucktail. I'm going to tie this in. This is the tricky part, working with all this Flashabou, because it constantly wants to wrap around and move around. I'm going to tie that in right in the middle of that bundle, make a few wraps forward on it, and then take all those fibers that were going forward, fold them back, and wrap back on them. Now, once you've tied this in, a lot of times you're going to have that little bump there, that little sharp edge. There's not a good transition from that Flashabou to the hook. So what I like to do is, in front of that, make a few thread wraps and really help smooth out that transition, and that's going to help us wrap our hackle here in a second. Take that overwing, trim it to length, throw away your excess. This is going to get very messy, so hopefully your significant other doesn't mind a bunch of flash floating around the house. But you see how that bucktail has really helped support that wing. Cool. Now what we're going to do, tie in some hackle to finish this fly off at the front. So I have some hackle already picked out. I'm going to just strip some fibers off that main stem. That's going to help me tie it in. And all the hackle has kind of a natural curve to it. I want that natural curve to be going towards the hook. That way, as I wrap it, that curve is going back over the fly. So I'm going to go ahead and take that hackle, get that tied in nice and tight. Alright, take it, wrap it going forward. And don't worry if some of those fibers kind of get stuck together. You'll be able to pick them out and make all that look a little bit better here in a second, because right now, let's be honest, that looks like junk. So make a few wraps. Get that hackle tied down nice and tight. Trim that excess, throw that away. And now all those hackle fibers, kind of tease them a little bit, get them so they're not stuck together, and then go ahead and pull all those fibers back and wrap back over them a little bit. You don't want to wrap them down all the way, but you just want to come back a little bit, and that's going to help them all go back over the fly. Cool. There you go. Once you got that hackle tied in, everything's looking good. Make any finished wraps you need just to kind of cover up anything on that head. And go ahead, put a few half hitches in there. You could do a whip finish if you want. I just like the half hitches because they're nice and quick and easy. And go ahead, take a little head cement or super glue, coat that head, increases the durability. And there you have it. Nice, simple flash fly.